Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. It's another installment of the fuel upgrade for the car. Hang around a little bit, and yeah, we got a lot of videos we're gonna be doing here. All right, so I haven't got rid of this line yet. This was the original feed line, which I'm not going to be using. Just tuck that out of the way. This is the electrical connection that powered the original pump, and the other two lines were for the level sensor, which I'm going to have to disconnect the wires from this connector, and I've got some tools to do that. This wire here is the same as this one. It goes over to that side, and I'll show you in the book what that's used for. I connected the number 8 and the number 6 fitting on. These are O-ring Boss, so these don't have to be very tight. Pretty much once they bottom out, just give it a little bit of a snug and you're good. The O-ring does all the sealing. I put a little bit of lubricant on the O-ring so it doesn't roll when I'm putting it together. So this thing is ready to go, ready to have lines run to it, but I got to do something with this. So this is going to come out. You could use this for the return if you wanted to. You know, you could figure out a way to connect that there like that. I've got this covered because down the line there's still fuel in it, and I don't want smelling up the car. And I keep these covered because I don't want little bugs crawling in there. I don't have caps. I wish I did, but I'll cover those with tape. Anyway, let's get back to the book. I want to show you what that is over there. Alright, so we're in the service manual for the 2014 Camaro. And this is a good picture of the top of the fuel tank. This is a fuel pump that we replaced. You can see the feed line here. And then you're like, what's that? That's well, that transfers the fuel from this side over to this side. It's not a very good picture, but there's a wire that runs across here. That's that black wire I showed you. And then all this up here is for the evaporative emission controls. And yeah, a lot of stuff on this fuel tank. More evaporative lines here. Number 2 is an evaporative line, and then your charcoal canister and purge valve. It's all emission stuff here. Here's a fuel tank here. There's quite a procedure to if you have an LSA, what you have to disconnect. So you can see why I went ahead and cut the door underneath the seat instead of dropping the tank, because there is a lot to do if you want to drop that tank. I'm sure there's shortcuts and things you can do, but there's the tank support straps right there coming out. Fuel tank pressure sensor. That's over by the emission evaporative side. You can see here this number 2 is the supply line. Number 1's our electrical. Here's that secondary. This here, the J45722, that's the tool that you would use to take off the ring. In the previous video I used a screwdriver. Most people do if you're careful. Doesn't hurt it. That right there this is the primary pump we took out. That's the hose inside that dropped in the tank. That's the transfer hose. That connects to the Venturi valve on the bottom side of your pump when you get it. You can see over here, here's the electrical connection going into the secondary. I actually had an error in the book. This is a secondary fuel tank module. You know, so they don't call it a pump. It's not a pump. There's no pump connected to it. The electrical connection is for the float, the level sensor. So if you remember back to your carburetor days of Venturi, you have air passing an orifice and it'll pull the vacuum on that orifice. That's how the secondary works. So this connects to the bucket. So through Venturi, the valve is in the bottom of the tank, or in the bottom of the bucket. There's a Venturi valve, and it pulls a vacuum on this line that pulls fuel from one side of the tank over to the other side of the tank. You can see it looks different. There's no pump. There's only a level sensor. And this is showing the level sensor replacement for your regular, for your primary pump, how to take it out if you wanted to. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys that there is something on that other side. It keeps fuel over into your bucket, and fuel in your bucket's a good thing, because if it weren't for that bucket and the pumps were just sitting in the tank, if you got low on fuel in the tank and you went around a corner or into hard acceleration, you may not be covering your pumps with fuel and they'll suck air. So you either need a bucket, a pretty full tank of gas all the time, or you can use a surge tank. A lot of race cars use surge tanks, and that's another way of dealing with it. So we're on the passenger side of the car. You got the back end jacked up on a jack stand. Got some paper towels and a catch can. So I want to drain that line that I'm not going to use. And let me show you which is which. It showed me in the book. I probably could have just showed you there, but so this line here with the white connector, this is the one that's going up to where our fuel pump is that I had the blue tape on. You know what? I got it backwards. The book is wrong. This is evaporative. The blue one is fuel. And now I can see it even has a orange sticker on it. It's kind of hard to see. Orange sticker. Has a little fuel pump emblem. So this is the fuel. I'll show you in the book where that was wrong. Alright, so the way I understand it, the outside one, number 2, is the fuel feed line, and the evaporative line, number 3, is on the inside. Maybe this is the outside of the car. It's not a very good picture. But that's not what I wanted to show you. This is what I wanted to show you. The different types of connections and how they release and what they're called. Bartholomew, Q release, squeeze to release, sliding retainer, push down TI, and number 6 isn't mentioned. Of course not. So looks like this is the one with the fuel line we've got, and that's called push down TI. Now here's some instructions here. This step applies to the push down TI style connector only. Release the fitting by pressing on the tab indicated by the arrow. I tried that, it didn't move. Maybe I didn't press hard enough. Huh? pull connection apart. Well, let me try again. So yes, the one up on top where the fuel pump is exactly the same. And this tab comes out, not in, just like that. Just pops out. Now I pop that out. There we go. Okay, let that sit there a minute. That's the evaporative one that I was telling you about. This is the fuel one. We disconnected the metal clip like this already. But if you remember from my other videos, we have to use that tool to separate this line. That would be this tool. This one happens to be a fancy aluminum, but the plastic ones work good too. Fit that over there, push it up in there, and that line should just come off. And there it is. So now we just have a stub there. And it's a stub going down underneath where we disconnected it. Alright, so I took my blowgun from my air compressor and blew out the steel line. There was some gas still in there. I just forced it out so it would be just air in there. And I'm going to cap these with some poly caps, just some push on to keep them clean. This line here, the fuel line that goes up to the top, you'll see it goes, let's see if I can squeeze you down there. There we go. You can see it goes here to this thing. There's a little tab right here. You can move that out of the way and pop this out, and that right there is your fuel pressure sensor, and you'll probably want that because that tells your ECM what your pressure is. Your pressure is going to be regulated by the regulator in the return system with the fuel pump, but you might still want to log your fuel pressure in HP tuners. I know I do. So I'm going to keep this, and the kit has a provision to attach this, so I'm just going to leave that there for now. Get this out of the way, let it hang, and then go up top and see if we can pull the rest of this down. If I didn't care about the hose, I'd just cut the thing off and pull it from the top, but I care about it, so there, it's down. I can probably pull it from the bottom now. Yeah, and there it is. Here's the end of it. So that concludes that. We're going to disconnect this. That would go up to the fuel pump control module, maybe. I don't know yet. I'm probably going to need that. Well, I know I'm going to need it. But I'm going to have to figure out. I'm going to get this off first and then connect this back up and tie this into my new fuel system. Okay, so we just broke this loose with a crescent wrench. We're going to take the sensor off. See what this looks like. Okay, that's... I don't know if I like that. That is a straight thread. I don't think I have a provision for that in the instructions. OEM pressure sensor. Okay, so I'm going to use O. Yeah, to a 5/16 EFI quick connect. Well, that's not a quick connect. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. I think they goofed. Alright, well, I talked to the guys over there at Deechworks, and this fitting here would have worked if I had an SS. Their test car was an SS. Uses a different fuel pressure sensor, and I used my thread pitch gauge and determined it was an M10 by 1.0. Walbro makes one. They make an adapter. It's a 128/30/40. It's got the M10 1.0, the -8 AN, and it would replace this EFI that they have, and it would plug right in. So they said they're going to look into getting that for me. As you can see, it's not very expensive, and they're going to need some for themselves for their ZL1 customers. So if you have a ZL1, you're probably going to need this. If you have the SS, you're going to want to do it the way they show you. So I've been working on the regulator, just getting the number 6. This is the return line. This is the pressure side. This is the boost reference, and this is the adjustment. And they come with these plugs in them. In case you're wondering, that Allen there is a 3/8. This is the only 3/8 hex I had. I thought it was metric. If it is metric, it must be a 9mm, because 8 and 10 don't fit. But a 3/8 fits nice. I'm going to configure it this way, because my return line is going to come off and go right down past the header, and then this is going to go out to the engine. This is going to be on the right side of the car, the left side of the engine bay if you're looking at the engine, right behind the ABS module. And I'm getting ready to put the gauge on. It's 1/8" pipe. It's not liquid filled, so hopefully it doesn't bounce around too much. Probably not, but we're going to put that on, and going to put a little bit of Teflon tape on it. You'll notice this Teflon tape is yellow. Yellow is used for gas, whether it's methane gas at your house, gasoline, kerosene. Well, you can see right there. So yeah, petroleum oils, propane, butane, naphtha, benzene. So any kind of gases, really. Don't know about diesel. Probably, since kerosene is one of them. So we're going to use this. Since this is subjective to gasoline, we're not going to use the white tape. We're going to use the yellow. So I just got off the phone with Deechworks, and apparently they got the wrong hose from their vendor. This is not the correct hose, which is explaining why I'm having so much trouble getting the fittings together, like almost impossible to get them together. He offered to send me the CPE hose, which I did not want. I want the PTFE. They have a nylon braided with stainless steel. NHR Rules doesn't like that so much because they think it's nylon braid.